the question is, what is the highest leverage in terms of your time as a founder and your resources when you're trying to accomplish a fundraise? Okay. So, and I see this all the time. And let me set up a scenario where I've seen founders have to go through and they do fundraising and they don't work on anything else. Right. And then what happens if that fundraise doesn't happen? And the founder, the CEO, is just the cost of opportunity and everything. They're over leveraged, runway is gone. Like, it's just a bad situation. So then when I'm talking to founders and they're in this kind of hellacious, weird zone between fundraising and working on your company, managing teams, et cetera, because now you already have investors, Pete. You've got investors and so you've got stakeholders in the game. I focus there on three areas. Okay. So the first area is traction.
Yep. 100%. That's where we're at right now. We launched our acquisition 3 weeks ago. That's what I'm saying with that private beta. We've got about 60, 70 people and more coming this week that are, hoping to get on. So that honestly is the number one thing. I think that's
perfect. Okay.
Yeah, that's the conversation that I'm having internally, but also with these existing investors is, hey, now we're to the point where they want to invest more. They want to see that. That's
sure.
Exactly.
Okay. Now you're talking.
Yep.
So I love hearing that. You've clearly done something right when they say they want to invest more. And so you're ready to launch. The more a founder can work on whatever it takes to get traction, the easier it is to fundraise. People will literally throw money at you on handshake deals. You don't have to go through the same song and dance of, setting up crowdfunding pages and deal rooms and blah, 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 blah. Traction. That's number one. Yeah. Number two, which Pete, you've already talked about, is your network. So the fact that you seem like you've been really good at maintaining relationships, keeping them updated, et cetera. The more you network, the easier it is, because investors introduce you to other investors, and they also want to invest more, like you just said. So first you get your traction, then you feed it into your network and see what they say. Because I've known someone who was ready, a founder in our community, and she didn't have to cold call anybody. She found one person that introduced her to all their investors. One person believed in them, introduced them. So that's that. So then third, is then what is the automation?
Yeah.
So how can we, or systems, how can we systematize it on little things here and there in terms of our outreach? Can we get a virtual assistant in there, pulling things? And so that's the leverage of time, because the thing that sucks the most energy is if you have a learning curve, right?
Yeah. And
you can't ignore that there's going to be situations where you're going to have to continue to learn. But if you do those things in that three order, in that order of three, then I think that you're going to have a really easy time. So this is where, Pete, it sounds like you kind of have, maybe you're kind of working on number three, like how do we get these systems so I can leverage my time, right here. But it sounds like you've got these two pretty much going really well. How's it going? Tell me if I'm getting this right or not.
Yeah. So traction remains to be seen on Monday, but I will say this, that I've already, that's about a year in. So right when I first started, I have a decent network of customers, really, that it comes down to, and that was day one. Hey, is this a good idea? Just like you said a minute ago, which is cool. You said you've been in the industry, you see the friction, you see the value. Okay, now I got to prove it, right? So that's been pretty good. I think the traction will show itself over the course of the next few weeks. We're looking at actually, I hate to say it, but we are looking at a 420 public launch. But That was not my choice. I wish I didn't say that,
That's,
but I
that's
did. But I did.
amazing.
So
I
yeah,
love it.
yeah. So, yeah, so we're doing that. The traction, I think, will show itself. There's always people that are unclear about this type of thing, but frankly, I look at those people and I said they're just maybe the ones that are not ready for it. So we'll get there. Now, the network is good. It's like you said, we're pretty clear on that. The automation, I've actually been pretty good about that as well. I mean, we use a few different things. We use HubSpot as kind of our back end CRM. That's easy stuff. There's other things that I've used, Apollo and a few other things that are good in terms of outreach from a networking or from an investor perspective. We're also starting next month, we're hitting up certain conferences, very specific to get in front of a few other people, but very specific in the sense that we only go to conferences where we know we've got meetings in hand, basically. Sure. Otherwise, they're just useless. So yeah, it's happening for sure. I think it really comes down to, I think, that network itself and making sure that we can understand the small subset of that large investment network or investment world that is open and amenable to investing in cannabis software. Again, even though our business model is very specifically, we don't take any money from a cannabis operator, which is great from a banking perspective. So we have this unique story, but it's like, it's getting that foot in the door and saying, that's our business model, that we don't take money from operators. So it opens up a lot more people. So, but I'm happy to see it. That's the number 1, 2, 3, 4, basically, because that's really what I'm focused on. It's now just execution on that. So,
yeah. And like I said, when you do your launch, again, traction, like I've seen people raise just on putting out their traction graph on social media, right?
Yeah.
Here's here's our growth metrics. We're blowing up like a rocket ship, 15% every week over week growth. And then people just Twitter, like all the investors are on Twitter. They're like, can I get an intro? Can I get an intro? Can I get an intro? So personally, in my mind, I would consider almost not thinking about fundraising yet until you do your launch, see where that traction growth is. And if you're getting that, parade that around and then go to your network and say, hey, just want to give you an update. This is this week, month over month, et cetera, et cetera. I think that you'll have a cavalcade of people going, take my money, please. That's my assumption, but let's open it up and see if anybody else has comments.